Hey there, everybody. This is Bill Woodcock,
And I'm Steve Hunt. Hello,
and
hello.
you are watching or listening to another edition of But Before We Go, the podcast by people Gen X about all things Gen X before we go. At this point, I'd like to remind you that, let me reach down here and pull out the copy of my latest book, our latest book, the first But Before We Go companion, the Gen X Experience Technology, is now available on Amazon or any fine bookseller. So you can get it in paperback version or on Kindle. So please search on Amazon. If you like what you hear on the podcast, you could you could also buy the book. And also, please don't forget, if you're following this on YouTube or your favorite podcast provider, to like and or subscribe. Steve, those are the things I've been told we need to do in order to get more audience.
That's right. What do they say? Smash that like button, y'all.
Smash it,
Absolutely.
smash it,
Smash the hell out of it.
smash it.
We love to have you join the party and walk either in our shoes, or if you are a Gen Xer, take a walk along with us. And by the way, Bill's book, for those of you who are not Gen Xers, you'll learn about fun things like, I don't know, Atari and the Commodore 64. And, there was life before the PlayStation, the Xbox, and the iPhone, or whatever Samsung has out right now. And it's a
Steve,
lot.
you learn about the TRS-80. Who wouldn't want to learn
Oh
about the
my God.
TRS-80?
Geez, now you definitely taking me back to freshman year of college. This little sucker that's programmable. But Bill, I've said before, we need to do a podcast on your book and Go Technology. So we'll leave it for that podcast.
We got 26 chapters, brother.
By the
26
way,
big long chapters.
well,
Big
maybe we'll
long
just begin some
throbbing chapters.
maybe
What's
we'll do
that?
some mini pods, some shorter versions that crack open each chapter or something. But we'll figure it out. But anyway, let's get to
Indeed.
the topic at hand. I'm sure people are looking at these shirts and saying, they ain't here to talk about computers, are they?
So if you are watching this podcast, you
Uh,
will notice that I am in a star-spangled attire of American flag theme golf shirt, and Steve is wearing a Baltimore Orioles themed Hawaiian shirt because this podcast episode kicks off our summer series where we spend the next 2 months talking about all things summery. Hear your favorite Beach Boys song now. So we start off with July 4th. It's July 4th weekend as this podcast is coming to you. And Steve, give us some of your favorite July 4th memories as a starting
well,
point to start this Halcyon conversation of July 4th in the way back 70s.
July 4th in my family, it really is a simple thing. It was all about the cookout. July 4th meant the cookout during the day and fireworks in the evening. That's it. That's all. Now, the cookout was, any stereotype you want to have about a black cookout, we checked most of those boxes. Although my
What?
my my parents and some of the being from DC, my parents and some of my other cousins and relatives, politics kind of found their way into the conversation because you're in DC, that's kind of what you talk about. But it was talking sports. It was grilling the heck out of whatever we decided to grill the heck out of. It was my Uncle James always getting hammered because that's what Uncle James always did. God rest his soul. Um, it was music, lots of great, 60s and 70s soul music. I mean, whether you're talking about Motown or Stax, the sound of Philadelphia, we were cranking some tunes. But in my childhood, it was really next level because we would always go down to West Potomac Park in DC, at a little spot called Haynes Point. That was where you went if you were a black family in DC or around DC or had family in DC, you were in town. That's where you went. And it was an entire day adventure. So You started off by getting out of bed at 5 in the morning because Haynes Point opened at daybreak, and you had to be there at daybreak. Otherwise, you still maybe or maybe did not have a shot at getting a picnic table, which wasn't a big deal, but you had to get a grill, and you weren't packing a portable Weber. They had all these grills spread out, so you got a spot near a grill. If you had a picnic table, oh well, so you bring some folding tables, but you got near a grill, and it was all day. But the beauty of West Potomac Park was there was stuff to do all day. You could throw a football around, you could throw a baseball around, you could just walk around the park, and then in the evening it wrapped up with the 4th of July fireworks, which is right across the tidal basin. So it was an all-day adventure. You got home at like midnight because getting out of DC after the fireworks was a nightmare. So the 4th of July really became a day, and we'll talk about some of the specific things that happened, but that's my most vivid memory was getting up early, going downtown to DC all day at West Potomac, fireworks, and then sitting in a car for hours trying to get home. How about you, Bill? What does, as the viewers see you in your extraordinarily festive 4th of July shirt, I love it, what say you in House Woodcock? What was 4th of July like?
Well, first off, excuse me there. We wound up coughing a lot, Steve. But the 4th of July in my house, as discussed in a prior episode, some years it was considered my birthday, which was also odd. But most of the time, July 4th, it was really that it was just a big fat day of doing nothing. At my house growing up, my grandfather actually built a brick barbecue pit, and it also
Ooh.
built a couple of concrete tables. So we already kind of had our grilling pad, so to speak, already laid out. So there was no place to go to. So yeah, I mean, we did a whole lot of nothing during the morning and the afternoon. The family moved outside and, sat around the grilling area. If there was an Orioles game on the afternoon, it was on the radio, which we listened to, or music or whatever else. And we grill. I mean, it wasn't like, chock full of patriotism. We didn't fly American flags, read the Declaration of Independence or any crap like that. We just kind of kicked back with a cooler full of beverages, some burgers, some dogs, some salads, and that's what we did. Then in the evening, we went to one of a few different places where I recall was going for fireworks.
Mm-hmm.
We went to either Fort Meade,
Hmm.
about 25 minutes south of me, and that was probably the most rare of the three. We went to Catonsville,
Mm-hmm.
to where the fireworks were being shot off, still are shot off to this day at Catonsville High School, or
Mm-hmm.
we went to downtown Columbia,
Mm-hmm.
which, Steve, both of us being in this area, we are both probably quite familiar with. Needless to say, it was not, and surprising to say, maybe, it was not the genteel environment that we know
Yeah.
it to have been back then. So, there are certainly some things I can remember specifically. July 4th, 1976 for the bicentennial being
Mm-hmm.
a completely messy one,
Yep.
as Baltimore was doing a special celebration, which also for the bicentennial, which included baking the largest cake
Oh
ever.
my God.
They baked the largest cake ever baked. I don't know how this happened, but somehow Baltimore wanted to set a Guinness World Record for the largest cake ever, and they sold pieces of this cake for $4. But apparently, like sometime on July 4th, the icing of this cake slid into the inner harbor. Not sure exactly how that happened. And when I've got my $4 piece of cake, which came a few days later,
Oh my
not
God.
Was it not stale? It was iced. So I'm not sure what exactly went down. I can regale you with pictures, with stories of Columbia fireworks and fireworks actually falling into the crowd.
Oh,
So, Steve, it was fun. Also, some years it became an unholy mess.
yeah. By the way, can I just offer some unsolicited advice to any town like a Baltimore or any of your kind of mid-sized town? They always have that. We're really not a small podunk town, so we're going to do something to get people's attention. If you do something like try to set a world record about a cake size, you've just become some nondescript town in the Midwest. Okay, find something big boy to do, like I don't know, get a sports franchise or something. Um, but yeah, if your goal is to make a mark on the world by having a big ass cake, um, yeah, you've become podunk. Okay, I just had to say that because
That
that's
that
nuts.
absolutely does seem like a lame world's record, correct? I
Yeah,
mean, like the longest kielbasa,
yes,
or I mean, what captain of industry is going to choose to bring its business to Baltimore? Move thousands of jobs and millions of dollars of business because, well, y'all baked a big cake.
yeah,
Nobody does that, or you set the record for the longest, you know, series of falling dominoes or juggling 5 balls. It doesn't make a
yeah.
lot of sense.
Now, Bill, we've talked about the day, and we touched a bit on the evening and fireworks. And I maybe it's just me, maybe I wasn't paying attention, maybe I was just in DC for too many years, but I don't remember fireworks literally being every 25 feet. Like every small town, you've got communities that do it. I mean, my in my house, I've got a dog that, and this is where Bill, you having cats is a good thing because dogs don't like fireworks. So the 4th of July now, the memory is, how velcroed can my dog be to me or my wife because everybody and their mother is setting stuff off. I just don't remember that. A Columbia, a Baltimore, a DC, a city of Laurel. I mean, yeah, but now you've got like these little, like, I don't know if the villages do it up in Columbia, but it seems like, well, maybe they're all sold out to they don't worry about it because the lakefront's doing it. But is it just me? But it seems like everybody and their mother, legally and illegally, are firing off shit.
Well, that's a good question, and I think we're conflating, you know, 4th of July then with 4th of July now. So, I
That's
mean, in
true.
my experience, there were a number of different factors. First off, in the town where I grew up in Elkridge, it was the neighborhood was a bunch of old people, and we all lived on 2, 3 acre plats of land. So, yeah, we had dogs when I was growing up, much more dogs than cats, but dogs didn't have anything to worry about on 4th of July because nobody was shooting off any fireworks. These were big properties. Also, there's been issues over the decades with the legality of fireworks. I mean, I can remember some of well, I'll just say what they are, hillbillies who lived, not that far from our house, shooting off M80s. For those of you who don't know what an M80 is, it's a quarter stick of dynamite. There's nothing fun about an M80. It's an explosive. It's not there to shoot into the sky, to make sparklies, to make you go ooh and ah. You light the fuse, you put it down, it goes, and it's a very loud boom. It's not an earth-shattering Marvin Martian kaboom, but it's a boom, and it blows shit up. I mean, I can remember people who used to take model cars, plastic models or even the metal models.
Uh huh.
People would buy and build of hot rods, NASCARs, airplanes, ships, and the like. These idiots would spend like 5, 6 weeks
Mm-hmm.
building these models. Then on July 4th, taking an M80, sticking it under the model, lighting it, and blowing it to Kingdom Come.
Oh dear
Just
God.
don't understand that. It was ridiculous. So there was a lack of availability of actual fireworks. Where
Hmm.
we both live in the state of Maryland, fireworks, as are enjoyed on 4th of July, have largely been illegal. I mean, it's
Hmm.
a thing that goes down to the county level. And, like, sometimes you can only get things that pop. Sometimes you can only get sparklers.
Hmm.
Sometimes you can get things that twirl around and shoot sparks. But by and large, in Maryland, the type of fireworks we can have are kind of blah. Now,
Hmm.
you go over the border in Pennsylvania, all
Yeah.
bets are off. You can
Yeah.
get whatever the hell you want.
Right.
And I mean, if you wanted to get a cruise missile, you can get a cruise missile. So, what I think is the most bogus thing is that when you go to a fireworks store in Pennsylvania, you have to give them your driver's license. So,
Hmm.
somebody from Maryland was here and bought fireworks. The shit. So
Hmm.
you take your fireworks back to Maryland, and you
Hmm.
just do your own show. So,
Right.
in today's world, there's all sorts of rogue fireworks shows that go on besides
Hmm.
the officially approved community and town ones. I, for one, love it. Pandemonium. Today, it's almost like 4th of July has become organized, approved anarchy.
Right. And it's over multiple days. That's the other thing. As a kid, I
And
remember.
nights, by the way. And nights. It goes late.
Yeah, I mean, 4th of July used to be 4th of July. Now it feels like, because, like you said, you have a bit of anarchy and people have bought so much stuff, they've got enough to do like multiple shows over multiple nights. It feels like, it starts the weekend before the 4th and ends the weekend after. It just like never stops. So that's the other thing that struck me about the 4th of July.
Well, what about when you were young growing up? I mean, you didn't have access. Did you even have M80s? What did you have? You have sparklers?
We
What did
might
you
have
do?
had spark. Yeah, we got the whole, like, the parents would buy the little sparklers for the kids, and you're walking around looking really cute with this little sparkler. I mean, yeah, we weren't launching shit, you know.
Yeah, we had the little snapping pops. The
Okay.
little things that were little bits of gunpowder twirled up inside what looks like a little Hershey's Kiss, and you kind of step on them or sit on them or whatever. Because of
Yep.
course, the thing that would happen. Every year there would be a local news story about fireworks safety. And
Yes.
there would be, forget some of these images may be disturbing. Oh
Yeah.
no, you saw
Yeah.
the ER pictures of like someone's hand
Right.
that's like that,
Right.
because they blew off 3.5 fingers
Right.
holding a firework.
Yeah.
And of course, we never understood that that's because the dummy actually held the thing.
Right.
It was just, oh my God, they lit it and they blew their hand off. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, if you hold the damn explosive, we'll blow your hand off. Don't hold the
Right.
explosive.
Well, and part of that was the whole, I'm going to hold it as long as I can before letting it go to show how badass I am. And yeah, you're playing around with explosive devices. This is not a good thing.
This is
Just
not
say
a toy.
it is the farthest thing from a toy that you could possibly get. And again, this is our big fat public service announcement, but damn. So
Yeah, anybody out there listening to this on July 4th weekend, don't hold explosives.
no, don't do it. It's
Please don't anybody blow your hand off or any other body part and say, I heard two idiots on a podcast talk about not holding things. So I
yeah,
decided to do it.
yeah.
No,
Yeah,
not okay.
you know what's cool? Having everything on July 5th that you had on July 3rd. That's what's cool.
Except for possibly the addition of a hangover.
Well, yeah, there is that. Obviously, our childhood memories don't include that, but certainly I can only imagine what my dear uncle and my pops and some others were feeling on July 5th. Um, I just remember that we were pretty much on our own the morning of July 5th. Breakfast was not coming.
No, July 5th was an unofficial holiday, right? I mean, even though we weren't in school, no, no, stay in bed. Stay in bed. You were up late. Stay in
Yeah,
bed. And
yeah,
now we know why.
exactly why.
So Steve, tell me, so what fireworks were, I mean, DC 4th of July is purported to be, the National Mall, some
Hmm.
concert with a whole bunch of white bread performers
Right,
and approved people of color, of course. And it's just been that and a big mass of people. You're
right.
you're saying you didn't engage in that conventional nonsense.
No, we did not do the mall. That was if either I would say that the people on the mall were a whole bunch of people who were not only not from DC, they probably were not even from the DC metro area. These were out of towners. If you were from DC or you were from the surrounding areas of DC, A, you were not trying to go through all of the, concerty stuff on the mall stuff. And B, you had a vantage point that allowed you to see the fireworks without putting up with all of that, whatever it was they did on the mall. I can tell you with the battle of the competing radios, boom boxes, etc., you darn sure weren't hearing the Boston Pops. You were hearing something totally different and something more entertaining than that. And even later, when we stopped doing DC and we would have the big barbecues at home, you go down to Old Fort Washington where you didn't have a bad sight of the DC fireworks, so they would have a little something there as well. So yeah, we were not doing the concert on the mall. I have if you're looking for a Fourth of July memory of that, you need to have somebody else on this show. I'm not him.
Well, I mean, as organized and as professional as I guess my childhood experience for Fourth of July got was indeed the Columbia Lakefront,
Hmm.
which in the 70s, and this was as Dad was going into his second marriage, you know, decided it wasn't cool to sit at home with his mom and his grandmom. We went to the lakefront, and
Right.
we would go at like 4 o'clock, put out our little blanket, sit there, have a picnic, watch people go up and down. And at the time, there were paddle boats,
Oh yeah.
and you could rent paddle boats, and you
Yep.
could do those out on the little lake in
Hmm.
downtown Columbia, fake lake,
Hmm.
but it's still a lake. Um,
Hmm.
and so that was great fun.
Right.
Then around 8 o'clock at night, you started to hear what would truly be earth-shattering kabooms. And that would be not M80s, but entire sticks of dynamite that would
Oh.
be set off in order to get all the geese, the gulls, whatever other fowl, and had infiltrated the area because they were hanging
Uh-huh.
out of there, so as a fireworks shell does not hit a bird
Right.
and cause a problem. So that would happen. And
Mhm.
then around 9:30, probably closer to 9:30, 9 if it was a cloudy evening, the fireworks would go off. It was
Mhm.
probably about a 15, 20-minute show. Of course, firework technology has now improved over 40 years than it was in the 70s.
Right.
Now blue fireworks are possible. Every color of the rainbow fireworks are possible. Didn't
Yep.
seem to be so. Now there's more, they were not all multi-stage like they are now. They were good. They were also a little bit out of hand. And I mentioned this earlier, and I'm just going to say what I saw. Pretty much every year, there would be a few pieces of burning firework that would make it into the crowd, that would
Oh.
make it across the lake. And, as because the trajectory of the shells
Mhm.
I mean, now they go straight up or at
Right.
a very sharp angle. For some god unknown reason, I guess what was cool at the time was to burst the shells over the crowd so we
Uh,
could all just look straight up and go ooh ah that way. Well, the downside of that is then that you get shrapnel, and sometimes that shrapnel is burning. And I can remember a few times burning pieces of firework
oh my
going
god.
onto someone's blanket, setting forth a little bit of a fire that had to be stomped out,
Oh my.
people scrambling to go, ah! And, to my knowledge, no one died. No one was even injured. People were unhappy, but that was part of the show.
I was going to ask you, did anybody ever get taken out by one of these? But it sounds like nobody, well, at least no humans were harmed with that experiment.
Well,
Sounds
not
like
that
the
I
land
saw,
got
but
taken
if
out.
they did, well, that's what I saw, but if they did, so what? I mean, this was a thing that happened.
Wow. Yeah, I certainly cannot relate to because again, obviously in DC, the fireworks are a long way away from where we were sitting. So I'm assuming they've always been pretty good about not taking out people. But that is funny to hear because the Columbia, obviously later memories I have of Columbia are the lakefront and used to be you had to get there at a certain time or else you didn't get a spot and all that sort of thing. But yeah, hearing about potential shrapnel
Oh, it was shrapnel, and it
for
was
those
life
people.
hazard. See what was in. Let me confirm. We have about 5 minutes left, but I think we need to probably touch upon a piece of Fourth of July Americana that a lot of our viewers and listeners probably experience. But I'm not hearing that so far in either of our stories. Did you ever attend a Fourth of July parade, or for that matter, do anything overtly patriotic on the Fourth of July, other than eat good food and listen to good music?
No, that was it. I cannot remember a single parade. I have no memories. I got nothing of a parade. I've got nothing of, I mean, I don't even know that we took time out to put on 4th of July themed tablecloths. I don't even think that was a thing. The 4th of July for the parents, it was a day off to eat, drink, and be merry. And for the kids, it was the opportunity to eat, drink non-alcoholic, of course, and be merry. There was we were not in it for the patriotic vibe. No, that just was not what we were about.
There was never an American flag that was on display at my house.
Yeah,
It,
I can't
it, it,
remember a parade that was nearby that we blew. I mean, obviously, if we're down in DC, you're not seeing a parade because we're down in Haynes Point. But even when we were at home down in good old southern Prince George's County, I can't even remember. I can't even remember a parade that was going on that we said, "Yeah, we ain't worried about that." Nah,
in the last 20 years or so, I mean, as a fully formed adult, and as a parent on my own,
sure,
I've been to Fourth of July parades. They're okay.
yeah,
But we never ever set forth when I was a kid and said, "Oh, hey, let's go down to the Fourth of July parade. Let's see, let's see the local luminaries. Let's,
mhm.
all wave American flags, have red, white, and blue pinwheels, and eat a lot of candy." I mean, eating a lot of
Yeah,
candy, and of course, Steve, as you know, for the adults it was alcohol. For us, it was sugar,
sure, right,
and that's what the day entailed. But going to find a parade and actually attending one seemed
yeah,
like a whole lot of work for a holiday. And now, I mean, I've been to several. Hell, I've walked in a few, and
yep,
it's a fun experience. But to this day, there's no part of me that says, "Ooh, I got to go to a parade." If
yeah.
it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
I'm the same way. And like you, I've walked at a few. Obviously, like you, having run for office, that's kind of part of the obligations. Fourth of July, you go to the neighborhood parades in your district or whatever. So those were fun, but you're also trying to accomplish something. So you're a little more focused. I can't imagine to this day, sitting on the side of a road in a folding chair, waiting for the local organizations to walk by and wave and catch. I just it's just not my thing. And for those who are into it, that's great. That's wonderful. I don't think either one of us are here to knock Fourth of July parades, but when I think parades, quite frankly, I'm thinking the ones around the holidays. I'm thinking Macy's. Of course, that was on TV, and maybe that was something else. I don't remember Fourth of July parades on TV. I remember, Thanksgiving, you got the Macy's parade. Christmas, there was usually some parade on. New Year's Day, you got the Tournament of Roses parade before the Rose Bowl. I don't remember a big deal being made out of, some TV network of the five we had or whatever that number was, showing a Fourth of July parade. Just don't remember that.
No, they happened. I mean, like I know Baltimore had one, and I think maybe still does. I don't know, but it was just never a thing to go
Yeah,
to.
yeah.
Well, and if you out there in your town, small or large, did a Fourth of July parade, more power to you. Just not
Yeah.
our thing. And with that, we bring to a close our rousing discussion of July 4th experiences.
Mhm.
We want to make sure that each and every one of you out there in viewer and listener land has a wonderful rest of your July 4th weekend holiday. And join us next week as we talked some about sugar. We're going to go deeper into that sugary coma that we all would go in the summer as we talk about the treats of summer. And we don't mean movies, we mean food.
Yes,
So
sir.
until then, I'm Bill. That's Steve. This has been another episode of But Before We Go, see you soon. Take care.